Alex Novell is a liar like Johnny Somali. Today, we're going to address some insidious, malicious defamation that has been brought against me by one Alex Novell in cooperation with the Somali Discord. And we are going to totally destroy these allegations with facts and objectivity, as we always do on the Legal Mindset. We let you be your own judge. And this is the type of episode that I would normally not do. This is the type of thing that I would normally not get into. And of course, I do have a PowerPoint here today, but because these accusations, because these things have been mentioned, have been so malicious, these are beyond routine, and because they've spread around enough that enough people have seen them, that there needs to be a direct and clear rejection, a direct and clear rebuttal of all these things. It rises above the normal level, which I would ignore, which is typically my policy with most defamation, because as a figure on the internet, you need to accept the fact that people are going to say bad things about you. And people say bad and untrue things about me all the time. And routinely, I do ignore those. However, this one is malicious. And because it was concocted in such deep collaboration with Somali's people, this deserves to be called out and deserves to be dismissed as what it is, as malicious defamation. So I want to be very clear about this. Everything that we're going to talk about, every allegation this person makes is 100% false. Not only is it false, but these charges are so disgusting and so horrible that if anybody was guilty of this, if I was guilty of this, I would throw myself to the chipper, right? These are false, disgusting claims. And what are they? Well, I'm going to not hide the ball here. These malicious accusations are that I committed crimes against minors and that I committed revenge porn, both of which are serious crimes, felonies, for which I would be behind bars. I'd be locked up. I'd have an arrest record. I'd be going to court. I'd be extradited, because extradition, that is removal from a country, is very much on the table in every country I've lived in: South Korea, Philippines, Thailand, even Japan. All those countries will extradite people if there's even a shred of evidence to this. But of course, this is all false, and this is all malicious, and this is all 1000% defamation. And when I say it's malicious, because this person not only knows they were lies, but came up with the lies to smear me and to make me look bad. Now, who is this person? Alex Novell. He is a wannabe director who is a Somali fan. He is a Somali sympathizer. He wants to paint Somali in a sympathetic light. In fact, at the end of his fan film, people were clapping for Somali because he was trying to make him seem like some sort of sympathetic figure. However, Alex Novell is the type of guy who lies. He lies consistently, just like Johnny Somali. Johnny Somali will say whatever he says to get out of a situation, or to create some story or create some lie. Alex Novell is exactly the same way. They're peas in a pod. And perhaps it's fitting that they spent a lot of time together, I believe weeks together in Korea, together under the same roof, right? Filming, shooting the shit. And because of that, I think there's a lot of behaviors that cross over there. But he lies to his audience. He lies in his past works. He lied to Somali with Hank, Ice Poseidon, everybody. He lied about the contract. He made everybody sign this contract, which said, which essentially promised nothing. It was a quote unquote Borat contract. He promised people payment, which will never come. So those sort of things he just does out of matter of course. And his position on this, and this is something he said very recently this week, and we made this screenshot, of course, is that me acting that way towards a subject is disarming and not a representation of my actual opinions of the person. So he justifies his lying to people, saying, I can lie to people because, well, that gets them to say what I want. That gets them in the position that I want. And this is the entire thing that I figured out about him early on, and I learned about him early on, and the exact reason why I turned him down. And ever since I turned him down way back in March, ever since I shot him down, like rejecting a prom date, he never got over that. And because of that, he has come up with all sorts of fictitious stuff for the past couple months, culminating in what is the worst defamation that I've seen, period, and the craziest lies, which we're going to debunk today. But just to go through the record and give you some background, because some of you may not know, this is when he contacted me back in March. And he was saying he was going to film a documentary on Johnny. And I said, hey, listen, I'm not in Korea right now. I was in Thailand. He wanted me to do an in-person interview. I couldn't do that. I said, hey, I'm not going to do a in-person interview, but what I'll do is if you submit me written questions, I will answer them, and I'll do it by video or audio, either one. He did not like that. He threatened me. After I gave this response, he proceeded to threaten me when I just said no. And it's very funny how someone can feel entitled to an interview. I owe this individual or any individual on the internet nothing. I don't have to give my work and my time away for free, not a second of my time. I am asked for interviews all the time. I have people that want to come on my channel and people that ask me to come on their channels. I rarely do interviews because my time is so limited. And unless someone is willing to compensate me for that time, I'm sorry, I'm just not willing to do that. But there was no offer of compensation. Not that I would have believed him in the first place because he's lied to everybody else. But beyond that, I discovered when I did a bit of research on this dude that he is a bad faith actor, that he is someone who lies to everyone and then tries to get him with gotcha questions, things we've seen in the mainstream media, things we see all the time where people will try to get you to do a gotcha question in a long 1-hour interview and then clip out the one gotcha question to put into their final piece. And that's not what I was going to have with him, and that's not what I was going to allow. He didn't like that, so he proceeded to threaten me. And ever since then, he's been crazed about going after me. And we've got the receipts for that. So he always says, and this is one of the funniest things, that he's not trying to jump to conclusions or not trying to put a tinfoil hat. But we're going to show that everything that this guy brings up is the craziest tinfoil hat of all, even within his own narrative, which is all false. His narrative is complete BS. But his own BS narrative doesn't even make sense. So not only is it false, which we're going to show, we'll prove, but it doesn't even make sense within its own internal logic. Its own internal logic doesn't even make sense, not to mean that it's all false. So that's what we're going to show today. So first of all, this shows he was back here asking about me back in April. Here's him talking about documents, saying some of these, I believe, are traffic related. So he's accusing me of trafficking, that is human trafficking, back in April with no proof before he submitted any Freedom of Information Act request, nothing. It says, but there's one that's criminal and none for 2023. So he's accusing me of being a criminal in April before he's received any information on me. Now, spoiler alert, he will receive information that proves, and as others have seen and looked at, and I will prove, that there is no criminal background, that I have zero criminal background. In fact, the only things on my record are my victim reports where I was a victim of a car break-in. That's the only thing there is on all the records that this guy pulled, or all the records out there, which is pretty insane. But you see here that even back then in April, he was looking into me and looking into things. And this contradicts his own narrative. You're going to see why. Here he is in the highest level chat. Now, those that are aware of the Somali coverage, you know, the Somali intelligence agency, that is the highest level of the pirate gang of the Somali followers. And these people, this chat has several fake legal mindset accounts. They've been trying to dox me and do nasty fake stuff on me for the last 5-6 months. That has been a really pain in my butt. But we've taken care of that. We've handled all that stuff. I ignore it. And you've got Somali in here under 2 accounts, Somali Epstein, Somali Diddy, right? And one of these fake legal mindset accounts is him as well. And he's digging on information on me in May with the pirates. Mind you, these guys at the very same time are working on the doxing of various people. They're attacking Bong Bong, the female Korean streamer, creating deepfakes of them, deepfakes of Jungman, doing all sorts of nasty things, creating all sorts of fake information on people at this same time. And he is in there collaborating. In fact, we're going to show that he is in fact collaborating to this day with the Somali Discord, threatening to dox people, threatening to expose people. He's been in that community, in that group, tight as thieves with these people since months ago, and remains there to this day, which is pretty insane for someone who claims to be objectively covering this. The other thing is he submitted this report here. This is a Freedom of Information Act request related to me. He tried to submit this on April 6, 2025. So this day is very, very, very important because Mr. Alex Novell claims, oh, I just started looking into you just recently. Oh, just out in June 20th. I just started looking at you. No. He's had this hate boner for me going since April, late March. He's been coming after me, trying to get me ever since I turned him down. The second I turned him down, he flipped on me. But that's not his story. In fact, he tries to pretend that this was something that came up more recently. Let's watch the documentary and the proof from his own documentary where he lies. Once again, he starts out talking about me lying, right? Let's listen to this clip. So before I could even start
to look into who Legal Mindset is, I got this phone call.
So let's pause right there. So he says, before I could start looking into me, I got this phone call. What date is the phone call? Let's enhance this a little bit here. 6/20/2025. So this guy claims, oh, I didn't start looking into you till 6/20/2025. Well, according to your own records, which you show, that is a lie. That is a ball-faced lie right here, April 6, 2025, and even digging before that, April 1st, etc. So once again, his own documents, the stuff he brought up himself, just proves that he is indeed a liar. And he's got this friend or foe mentality. You're either with him or you're against him. So he tries to be buddy with you at first. And then as soon as you turn on him, he's your worst enemy. He tries to dox you, threaten you. He's done this with several people. And we have him doing this even recently in the Discord servers with people that he views are giving a contrary opinion. So anybody goes against him, he immediately flips on them. And as soon as you cross them, he makes threats. He comes after you. And that's just what happens. So for the past 6 months, he's been working with Somali to dox people, to expose people, to try to come after me, dig up information. That has been his MO. And you can see here, this is proof of that doxing, right? So this happened just this week, literally just this week, where he says, Mr. Netherlands, watch out, I'll dox you too. This is in the Discord. Now, I will say real quick, just for the record, some Discord records show up differently because some are on mobile, some are on web, and the presentation shows up differently. The format shows up differently. This is 2 different images that I added here. But anyways, watch out, I'll dox you too. Then I'll tweet it along with all his other info, right? So Lurid can totally try. I can just get their name and info. Then if they're the registrant to the website it's posted on, it's easier than you think. So saying, hey, look, I'm going to be able to go after you and dox you and expose you if you go against me, if you counter my points. It's really insane. Now, why does he do this? Well, he appears to hold some extreme political beliefs. I think he thinks I'm some sort of political opponent of his, even though I've tried to be, at least for the last year, apolitical and analyze things objectively, but he doesn't see things that way. He's pretty obsessed. He's also clearly trying to get Hassan clout. And we're going to show that in a second, where I've got screenshots of who he tags and what he tags in the videos, but he's trying to get Senpai to notice him, Senpai Hassan to notice him very, very clearly. And he's mad that I turned him down without fear, that I said no to him. I'm not going to interview with him. And he needed me for his Somali fan film. But I knew he was a bad faith actor. I told people not to associate with him. Now, everyone is free to associate as they want to associate. But that said, he's a bad faith actor. I called it out, and it just is proving itself to this day. I was entirely right about that, about this guy, incensing him out from the beginning, because as a lawyer, particularly, I know how to sniff out snakes, and this guy was a snake in the grass from the beginning. And I do not want to deal or work with anybody who is not honest and transparent. If I feel like anybody is not moving with honesty and transparency, I will not work with them. I won't interview with them. I won't interact with them, period. And that's my personal code, and no one can force me to break that. No matter how much they come after me, I'm still not going to give them what they want. So he's actively chasing Hassan affiliated haters to try to get clout. You can see this. He immediately pinned this Empanada dude. I don't know who the hell this guy is, but I know he's Hassan affiliated. I don't watch him or whatever else, but he's Hassan affiliated here. So he's trying to chase that clout. And you can also see that in his tags where he tags Hassan Abi in literally the video tag. So he's trying to clout chase off that. He's trying to clout jack off of that. Now, a funny thing is he doesn't even get his facts straight. For someone that is this serious documentarian, he is so obsessed with me. And I live so rent-free in this guy's head. He hates me so much that when he thinks Vitaly, he thought Vitaly was in Thailand. Well, bro, I hate to say, but it's the wrong country, bro. Vitaly is in the Philippines. The Philippines is not Thailand. It's a different country. I know it's all the same to you because, you got a tough time understanding facts, but Vitaly is not in Thailand. So let's talk about the call. Now, this is the main quote unquote evidence that he brings out against me. Now, he alleges this to come out of nowhere, right? And it's because my phone number is out on the internet. It is so wild. And there's so much tinfoil to believe that somebody that I would have known a decade ago is following a nobody, nothing YouTube channel that's got no views and somehow decides to call you all out of nowhere. Yeah, no. The Occam's razor, and we're getting into Novell's razor here, but the easiest thing is this was the Somali Discord, right? Now, whether or not he knowingly did this with the Somali Discord or unknowingly was a victim of the Somali Discord, who would know? But the Somali Discord is certainly the group that organized this. And he generated this call, as we saw by the date, only after he knew my record was completely clean. So what he had to do was work backwards and try to create a story because he knew I have zero criminal record. My record's completely clean. The only thing is I was a victim. So literally trying to change a victim into a criminal. Insane stuff. And it's a fun fact of this. Now, while this is not confirmed, it is speculated by one Johnny Somali. You can check out his X account. But he did identify a member of a female member of the Somali Discord with a history of fake calls. She's mentally ill. She's been seen in videos snorting meth. And she's a little bit of a fascist. Who has done this in the past, created several fake calls to frame people, libel people, etc. Now, that's not to say it's her. It may not be her, but all it is to say is there's no verification on who this person is. This person could be anybody, but all we know is, and all I know is, it's completely fake because the facts of this call do not line up with reality at all. Let's talk about that. And by the way, this is the same group. Remember, Somali's Discord is very adept at creating fake stuff. They've created deep fakes all the time. They've created fake calls all the time, fake everything, fake X accounts, fake Discord. They do this all the time. It's just what they do. Okay, let's get into the facts of the call. So this person decided, this is the transcript here that he tries to drop. So this person who's clearly reading off a script, right? Clearly, because they actually make an error with the age and the way they read things out is very perfected and very dry. But these facts are all completely wrong. First of all, I like the cocky lawyer part because that's completely not true. Alex Novell doesn't know this, but at that time, I was extremely nerdy, introverted, and engaged. Yes, the entire time for which he alleges and all this stuff you're going to see in 2017, I was engaged. I was engaged to be married. I was completely monogamous. I would believe 100% that was going to work. Ultimately, and sadly, that did not work. But there's ample proof of which I can't show publicly because it would expose my ex-significant other, but there's ample stuff related to my wedding, engagement, etc. The paperwork, the contract for the wedding venue, all that sort of stuff. But beyond that, I was nerd. I had an anime podcast, which is still out there with like 0 views. I was doing Game of Thrones cosplay, going to gaming conventions. I was a nerd. I was not a cocky lawyer at all, not even close. What they're doing is they're looking at my current personality and inferring that I'm quote unquote cocky now, which I wouldn't say I necessarily am, but inferring that back without knowing who I was at the time at all. But beyond that, this wouldn't make much sense because they're claiming, oh, you met on Tinder. Well, Tinder was 18 plus at age verification as of the year before. So that would be something logistically that wouldn't simply happen. But let's go beyond that. They say they reported in Gainesville to the cops revenge porn. So that once again, the accusation accusing me of revenge porn, saying they reported it to the cops with links, screenshots, folders, all this stuff. Let me give you a little lesson on sunshine law. Alex Novell filed a Freedom of Information Act request. It's right here. Florida, we have something called sunshine law. And I'm a little bit of an expert in that because I represented cities and counties and special districts. In fact, it's on the public record all across of Florida where I represented tons of special districts. I talk about Celebration. I talk about Reedy Creek. I talk about Bonnet Creek, all the other ones that I publicly represented for years and years and years and years and years. And I am a bit of an expert on that. And a bit of an expert on what you have to turn over. And the whole reason why we have the Florida Man meme, for those that don't know, is because Florida has to turn over everything. Mug shots, arrest records, stories, everything. So all these Florida Man stories come out because our sunshine laws let everything out. So if there was any arrest record, any mug shot, any photo, anything in Florida, it would come out. All of that would come out. So either this didn't happen or it didn't happen. There's no other way around that. There's no, no. That thing is a lie because any interaction with police would generate a police report. In fact, the police report, which Alex Novell later relies upon for my victim statement, because once again, I was robbed, right? My victim statement report was actually taken by a bike cop. Now it's taken in first person because it's my report, but it's my report to the cop, and the cop took that information down and processed it, right? So this is just the way Florida rolls. Every interaction with police is going to go into the record. It's Florida. Otherwise, it didn't happen. That's why all of our court cases are televised, because we believe in transparency and openness in Florida. I like it. It's great. And that transparency and openness shows that I got nothing on my record. Beyond that, and probably the craziest thing that needs to be talked about here is this crazy what if with this cell phone. So let's get into this crazy scenario, because this is absolutely the most nuts thing, and it needs to be completely debunked because it's ridiculous. He jumps in and says, but what if the cell phone had photos? His allegation is, I took this cell phone and somehow filed a police report to have it stolen or otherwise hide it, only for it to be found 4 days later. It makes no sense whatsoever. There is the same what if evidence. There's the same what if evidence to say, what if Alex Novell did 9/11? What if Legal Eagle is the Zodiac killer, right? These things have the same level of proof. That is an insane what if, because not only is there no facts behind it, but it makes no sense even internally. If someone wanted to destroy a cell phone or hide a cell phone, just wipe the cell phone, or you toss it in the Everglades. You go out to Alligator Alcatraz, you toss it out there, and no one would ever find it. It doesn't even make sense within the story for someone trying to, quote unquote, hide a cell phone. But the reality is that the backpack that was taken from my car and the cell phone were actually my work cell phone, which was extremely limited and locked down. I couldn't do anything with that phone. It was a brick. It was only for my long distance meetings when I would have to drive to cities far across the way in Florida, and I didn't want to use my data or anything else, so I would use this work phone. I had this work phone, and those were about maybe once or twice a month. So I really only had this limited use work phone that was pretty completely useless. Even my boss would message me on my personal phone, would text me on my personal phone, because they knew I never checked that phone. And my backpack was full of meeting minutes. Meeting minutes are meetings, government meeting, agenda, all the documents, which I would have in digital form as well, so I could read them on my phone. But I would have a physical copy because a lot of people wanted to see I was reading and making notes, and they didn't want me to look at my phone because they thought I might be playing a game or texting or not paying attention. So I would, out of politeness, always have a paper copy and be fully focused on the meeting at the time, taking notes with the paper copies. Of course, they weren't necessary as we had backups. So what happened was, in reality, my car was broken into. I noticed my SunPass was gone, so I reported that and some other minor stuff that was taken. And I didn't even notice the backpack was gone because, frankly, I didn't care. These meetings didn't happen very often, and I really didn't care about that work phone or the useless paperwork. It was only when it was found 4 days later that I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, okay, that got taken. That's fine. 4 days later. I didn't need it at all during that period of time. It wasn't necessary. It wasn't anything that was important. So that what if is absolutely the biggest ridiculousness of all. And it's part of Nolls Razor, what we call Nolls Razor, where he takes this thing where I am the victim, I'm the person that was victimized, and changes into me being some 5-star criminal, which is absolutely insane. And it's insane because, well, there's no proof. Not only was he not able to prove anything, but at the end of the day, I've cleared global entry background check. I've cleared multiple visa background checks, and I'm still licensed in active good standing with the Florida bar. None of these things would be true if I had a speckle of a criminal record or anything where even this was a shade of true, right? It's completely and utterly untrue. So what the real story is here is what Meme Copium says in this response to Alex. He says, so you got to call 9 days before the first screening of the film and claim it was before you could investigate him. You claim he raped a 10-year-old in March. Oh yeah, he did that. He publicly did that. I have that saved. I have that documented. He said I was a human trafficker, and he said I committed SA on a 10-year-old in March with no evidence, nothing else, just pure defamation, pure hanging out with Somali and committing defamation, as Somali's Discord does, which he is still in. And have been a part of the Johnny Somali Discord where they're exposing fake evidence for smear campaigns. Sorry, but it looks like you workshopped this fake story to get after the FOIA came back with nothing to get Hassan to notice it. That's right. There's nothing for Papa Hassan to notice you and Senpai to give you the attention you wanted for your little fan film. So the real timeline is I discovered he's a bad actor. I turn him down. He threatens me, rages online, rages in the Somali Discord. He's accusing me of trafficking an SA live with Somali in March. In April, he asked Somali's inner circle for help creating dirt on me. He files the Freedom of Information Act request in April for everywhere I've lived, which, by the way, others that have been trying to work check on this have also filed and said, nope, Andrew's 100% clean. We can confirm. Only a victim. Late June, he realizes he has nothing, creates a fake narrative before the screening. And June 20th, he creates the defamatory recording, the fake recording. And then June 29th, he screens a fan film. So this is the real timeline that's out there. Now, there is some other defamation he spreads. This is kind of related to it. I want to cover it quickly. He does mention other places that I can't go to the US. And this is something my other detractors have said. So I want to dismiss this in kind of one video and point back to it here for all the people that are haters. I go to the US often. Here's me at the wedding of Legal Bites with a ton of other big creators that can all confirm I was there. Ian Runkle's already posted under it. Uncivil's posted. Hey, you know, we all saw Andrew. He's real. We know he comes to the US. He's not banned from the US. And this is ridiculous narrative that people try to say, oh, I'm some criminal on the run. I come back to the US every single year. I have global entry. I'm in good standing with the bar. Absolutely ridiculous. And here's my 2024 flight. Here's my stream. So I returned to the Philippines. At that point, I was trying out the Philippines. I was living there in June of 2024. That's my flight. And here I stream from the Alfond Inn in Orlando. So all the A-logs out there can go look up the Alfond Inn and look what it looks like. But I'm streaming from there. I actually mentioned in this one about the Rakeda law case turning. I talk about being in Orlando, and right around this time I'm also on several podcasts which can be confirmed that are in the US. So all of these facts together show, hey, look, I've been in the US recently. I've been in the US in 2021, 22, 23, 24. All of these months I've got nothing to hide. And beyond that, guys, as we're going to end here, the coverage is not going to stop. What Johnny Somali and Alex Novell want me to do is stop covering Johnny Somali. But despite their best effort and their malicious lies, I will continue to cover Ramzi Khalid Ismail, Johnny Somali until his conviction. And I'll always give you the full and honest truth. Until next time.